Hello, Steve White, Trek Boy 89 for Steve White's 89. Well, just when I was starting to feel a bit optimistic about Star Trek, we have some bad news. If you're a Star Trek fan, it's bad news. Okay. There was a rumor a little while ago that they were going to do a Star Trek Republic, which was Starship Republic. It was going to be about the USS Republic, which was the ship that Kirk was on when he was a cadet. That sounded like a good idea. Apparently that's a rumour because it hasn't come up. Paramount Plus recently had a presentation during the Television Critics Association Winter Press Tour where they announced renewals and new shows, and they talked about Star Trek and its future, and nowhere did they mention Starship, Star Trek Republic. So that's disappointing. What they did talk about was Section 31, which has been in development hell for 2 years and still doesn't have a pickup, but they're expecting one soon. Now, the reason this show is really got any hope is because Michelle Yeoh is going to be in it. And she's a great actress and everyone loves her. And she's a big star now. She was always a star, but she got even bigger after Crazy Rich Asians. So that's the drive behind this, the fact they've got a star they want to utilise who's been involved and wants to be involved. The problem is the show itself is not Star Trek. It's the absolute antithesis of Star Trek. Section 31 was set up to say that Gene Roddenberry's vision of a utopian future is impossible without these people behind the scenes who are criminals and vigilantes and terrorists, basically. We couldn't have the Star Trek future, which just undermines the idea of that whole universe that Gene Roddenberry created. And I always found it really offensive in Deep Space Nine and Enterprise, but at least it was subtle. It seemed to be a little fringe group that they just could never really get their hands on. But when they got it into Discovery, they made it into like a whole section, a real section of the Federation that everyone knew about. They had their own badges, their own bases, and these people were just acting alongside the Federation somehow without any consequences. And it was just really offensive, and I really didn't like it. And there are a lot of people who don't want a lot of racist Star Trek fans, viewers, you can't really call them fans, I guess, but viewers who don't want a Star Trek show led by Michelle Yeoh. But that's not the issue with me. I would love them to do what they should have done, which is do a Captain Giorgio series set before the Battle of the Binary Stars, when she was just on the Shinzu with Saru, basically just exploring space. That would be a great Star Trek series. She's a great actress. She's Asian American. It would be a great Asian American captain leading a Star Trek series. That's sort of what we were promised with Discovery, and we didn't really get it because they killed her in like the third episode. Was it the second episode? I think it was the second episode. And then they had this great actress and this great character and nothing to do with her. So then they made up this Empress Giorgio character and dragged her into the Star Trek world where she never fit because she was a genocidal cannibal. But yet they treated her like she was Giorgio, and it was just did not work. It was horrible. There was a terrible misuse of this great actress, and they really should give her her own series, but not Section 31. Have her do a Giorgio series. Have her do anything other than Section 31. The series is the issue, not the actress. She's great. I love her. Now, the other issue is Starfleet Academy. We heard they were doing a Starfleet Academy show. They were pitching it years ago. I was fine with it. I thought, this is good. We can have a show that does what they want, which is focus on, a new audience, young audience members, people who don't know Star Trek, and we can teach them about Star Trek as the cadets learn about Starfleet. It makes sense. It would work. I was fine with it. But now they're suggesting that they're going to set it in the 32nd century after Discovery Season 4, which is where they show Tilly leaving the ship to go work at the Academy, and they have almost like a pilot episode with Tilly and a bunch of cadets stuck in a shuttlecraft on a planet. And I'm like, no. I kind of get moving Discovery into the future to get away from all the canon issues and to put it in its own universe so it could do its own thing. But they went too far. 100 years would have been fine. 1,000 years was too much because they are too far removed from our time. They are not gifted enough to really depict what the 32nd century would be technologically and culturally for us. It's just a joke. Basically, they just created a couple little new technological advancements. They put the warp nacelles separate from the ships, and they made programmable matter. That's it. That's all that happened in 1,000 years. Except the Federation fell apart, now has to be rebuilt. And apparently has forgotten the Prime Directive and everything and has to start from scratch, which is not the story of Star Trek. Star Trek is humanity evolved, living in a utopian future, exploring the galaxy and learning about itself, not rebuilding and getting to that point. Every sort of series, the sort of theme of Star Trek, of New Trek, and the Star Trek shows since 2009 have been rebuilding Star Trek and finding what made Star Trek, instead of just being in that Star Trek universe and just exploring it. So I really have issues with it. And I was okay with a Starfleet Academy series set in the 22nd or 23rd century, when Discovery was originally set, or when Strange New Worlds was set, or when Next Gen and Picard was set. But to push it forward in the 32nd century, it's just going to be an absolute joke. They are not going to be able to. It's enough of a stretch to try and depict the future 100, 200, 300, 400 years from now. But over 1,000 years from now, they can't do it. It's so far removed. People wouldn't relate to it if they did do it accurately. And not doing it accurately means you can't take it seriously. So I'm really dreading this. I was okay with a 22nd, 23rd, 24th century Starfleet Academy show, but 32nd century, not going to work. And our Section 31 show with Michelle Yeoh is not going to work. Now, Michelle Yeoh, like I said, would be great anything she does, and the Giorgio character, I would have loved to have seen her for more than 2 episodes, but what they're planning to do, yeah. Now, what else did they say? Now, they were asked about critical mass, basically, are they making too many shows? And they said no. They were saying Section 31 would be looking to get a series order soon. And they also mentioned something odd about curated Star Trek content. One of the people, someone Clemens, I can't find who they are, because who was talking? There was the programming officer Tanya Giles and Nicole Clemens, who's the president of original scripted series at Paramount. And Clemens said that, and I think you may see a few very curated editions coming. Now, does that mean they're just trying to act like the series are going to be very catered to specific Star Trek audiences, or are they going to be doing special events like miniseries or TV movies, or who knows? But yeah, I mean, Star Trek is Star Trek in name only at the moment, and it's very difficult as a Star Trek fan to watch it and see the things that made Star Trek unique and special removed so the general audience can consume it. And there's some support there for that, but they're not actually supporting Star Trek because they're not being fed Star Trek. It's a very awkward position to be in, because when you are criticising it, people are attacking you because you're criticising Star Trek, but it's not really Star Trek because they've removed all the elements that made Star Trek unique and special so that people could watch it. And this compromise is too much. It undermines what the show was. And it's not an achievement to have a whole bunch of general audience members watching these shows if they're not actually representing what Star Trek was. So it's just a big disaster. And every time I start to feel optimistic, I was feeling optimistic about Strange New Worlds. I was feeling a bit better about Discovery because it was getting better. And it felt like it was just going to be this separate little outpost in the 32nd century, and when it ended, it would just disappear. But now they're going to expand it with Starfleet Academy, and they can't realistically represent the 32nd century, and they need to just not. I thought when they did that, they were going to end up in some far-off part of the galaxy away from Starfleet to get around that problem and not show humanity in the 32nd century, but they went straight for what was left of Starfleet, and then fixed it and rebuilt, and in the process of rebuilding it now. And it's just not working. It's hard to make the show credible in that situation. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Starfleet Academy in the 32nd century, bad idea. Section 31, worse idea. Series with Michelle Yeoh's Giorgio character before she was killed and turned into resurrected as the Mirror Universe Empress Giorgio, that would be a great series because she's a great actress and I like her. But these people are just driving Star Trek into the ground, the IP into the ground for the general audience by stripping away everything that made it Star Trek and made it special. And that's not an achievement. And I just can't say it enough. And I just wish more people would appreciate it and understand the situation that Star Trek is in. It's really only the old school fans that have been around for a long time that really understand what Star Trek really was about, that are sort of mourning that being lost and that situation. It's just gone over so many people's heads. And it's just really disappointing to realise so few people appreciated Star Trek and liked it for what actually made it unique. And that's why they can't see that has been removed and it's gone. But yeah, I don't know how the situation's ever going to resolve itself. I'm going to go. Bye.